Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the page, be sure to give us a like and a sub so you're not missing any of the content we have coming out. And today we're going to be diving into X-Men, 10 of Swords. Now, if you guys haven't been keeping up with this, I already have the preludes and part 1 of 22 of X of Swords. I'll leave a link in the description and at the top of this video so you guys can check those out. Make sure you guys are getting all caught up and getting this in order. Now, the X-Men 10 of Swords is taking over the entire X-Men line. So technically, this is X Factor number 4. But for all intents and purposes, this is part 2 of 22 of the 10 of Swords line. And we last left off with Apocalypse getting ambushed. And the rest of the X-Men that were with him, they were all getting ambushed. And Saturnyne pretty much clicked her fingers and let a prophecy unfold. And that prophecy is a Mortal Kombat style fight that's going to take place with swords and heroes. And we saw Apocalypse betrayed by his own children. They jammed a spear into his chest and left him for dead. And so what remaining heroes were still standing tried to make their way through the portal. And this is where we pick up in this issue. And Richter is just beat up. Like, he has got an arrow in his chest, and he just doesn't look like he's going to be making it out of this. And we have Archangel carrying Apocalypse out of here. Like, these guys are just so rough and rugged. They've been through it. And this is where we see Dr. Reyes and some of the other mutants come in, and they try getting them to the healing gardens as fast as possible. But there's still one more to come through the portal, someone that didn't make it. And that's Rockslide, because we saw him get cut down. Summoner just sliced him in half. Now, in Otherworld, we have Saturnyne, and she's pretty much letting us know that Polaris is some kind of prophet of sorts, and that she needs to follow the rabbit hole. Like, you know, like Alice in Wonderland, the little bunny, she needs to go down and find it to help her be able to know exactly what swords are needed and so on and so forth. And to avoid any trespassing into Otherworld for the time being, we see her destroy the external gate, at least until further notice. And on the other side, we see Krakoa literally cause an earthquake and just get really upset, you know, and they try calming the island down, just like, listen, like, this is not our doing. Like, we understand what you want, but we can't control what Otherworld does with their portal. Now, picking up in the healing gardens, we have Polaris laying down, and Rachel's trying to figure out exactly what Saturnyne wants. But she's got such a good psychic firewall set up that, you know, anybody that tries to penetrate through Polaris' subconscious just doesn't get through. And this is, you know, very frustrating for them because they need to know what swords that they need, you know, and who's supposed to be wielding them, like all of this stuff that she just doesn't have the answers to, you know, and she has no idea how she's supposed to figure out a mystical prophecy on her own when she's not even a psychic or a sorceress. Now, picking up with Richter and Apocalypse, we see them just severely beaten up to the point where we're pretty sure that these guys are going to die at this point. And the healer is healing Apocalypse, and Apocalypse is just not having this. Like, you need to be helping Richter. Like, you save him. If he dies, then you die. You know, if resurrection is so quick, then so be it. Let's do it. And as he's sitting here trying to kill the healer, they come in and pretty much use his psyche against him to make him stop. Now, picking up at the hatchery with Professor Xavier, Polaris arrives to talk to him, to try to find out what the protocols for resurrection are for casualties of war. Because, you know, they have exactly those things. And they discuss, you know, this hasn't been something that they have talked about. There's been no need for such protocols, so, you know, they haven't made them yet. And Polaris and Professor Xavier, you know, they share thoughts here. And Professor Xavier sees that it was all a trap, and so, of course, you know, they're going to make exceptions. You know, Richter and Rockslide are going to be the first Hulks that immediately are resurrected within the next hour. And the 5 are really unsure about this. Now, the 5 are the ones that resurrect, or at least, you know, use the power. And unsure, you know, if it'll work. They've never worked it for this fast. They've never done it this fast, but they're going to try. And so they go around 2 of these egg pods, and they resurrect Rockslide and Richter. And they both seem to come out, you know, relatively well. It doesn't seem like to be like there's an issue. They're talking in coherent sentences. So all in all, it seems like it goes really well. And then Professor Xavier, his helmet just starts shorting out, as well as all of our psychics. And we see all the cradles short-circuiting, and something's wrong with Rockslide. and they all have lost connection. They're all offline. And we see Rockslide as a pile of rocks. And so it's seeming that it didn't work. Something went wrong here. And at first they're thinking like it's got to be the eggs. Like something I did made this a bad batch, and so they're tainted. And then we see Rockslide stand up, but it's not Rockslide. It's almost just a Hulk of him. And this is when Xavier wakes up and everybody's back online. And they turn and they see what looks like Rockslide, but it's not him. And then they turn to Richter because he was also resurrected, but he seems fine. Like he tells everybody, he's like, guys, listen, like I'm okay. Like we need to calm down, because they're insinuating possibilities of like how to get rid of failed resurrections. And so pretty much he's like, listen, don't kill me, guys. Like I wanna be alive. Let's not do this today. And the Professor Xavier lets everybody know, like, listen, like I understand your guys' worry and concern, but this is Richter. Like I give you my 100% certainty. This is him. And this is what they finally isolate what the issue is. So Richter had died on Krakoa. His exact moment of death happened in the Healing Gardens, but Rockslide had died in Otherworld. So this can confirm that dying in Otherworld somehow corrupts a mutant's cerebro back up. And it explains the shorting out. It explains why Rockslide is more of a husk of what he once was. He's Rockslide, but there's nothing, no memories, no nothing. He's a blank slate, if you will. So dying in Otherworld means that you're forfeiting your identity, your memories, your experiences, your physicality. It's really just a gamble. So in essence, if you die in Otherworld, you have a true death. And it's pretty much removing the possibility of a true resurrection ever again, at least when you die on Otherworld. And this is where we have some of them wanting to stop this tournament altogether. Like, if we can die in Otherworld, there's no point in going there. But at the same time, Professor Xavier counters it and says, there's an army on the march regardless. We are going to have an imminent war regardless, so we have to do this tournament. And this is where, Polaris and Magneto have a discussion. It's more Magneto just kind of yelling at her, and then she goes into a trance. A trance that's her speaking all of the prophecy, exactly of what they need, in a form of almost riddle, because it is prophecy, and most prophecies are in riddles. And when she snaps out of it, she grabs the remains of Rockslide, the rocks that are left lying around, and she runs off. Now, picking up in the Healing Gardens, we see Apocalypse pretty much about to die. Resurrection services are currently offline, and all the eggs are destroyed, so we're going to have to wait a couple days before we resurrect Apocalypse again. And this is where Magneto really says, you failed. Your grand experiment has ended, and you failed. You chose not to heed the council, and now your hubris has doomed them all. They're pretty much just here to, at least Magneto's here to just shun him. Let him know, you messed up, dude. This is your fault. Everything that you've done here has led to a possible demise of what mutants are here. Everything that we've built, everything that we have going for us, you are literally destroying. Now, picking up in the Voltus Glade, Polaris has brought everybody around and lets everybody know, this is the real clue that was left for me. It's pretty much a portal, a tournament key, a casting circle. So as our champions retrieve their swords, they return to these places and take their position within the circle, which each of the symbol is touching its corresponding swords at the same time. It opens up their tournament portal and brings them to where they need to be. And so pretty much, none of the telepaths were able to see this. Only she was. Only Saturnine really just made it to where she was the only one to be able to know how to build this portal. And building this portal required sacrifice. A literal ritual sacrifice. And so all the stones are Rockslide. They're his remains. She had to use this to construct the casting circle. And so it's pretty much become a permanent memorial to Rockslide. The sacrifice that he's made, the sacrifice that they all have made, the sacrifices that they're going to have to make. This is the base, the platform that it all builds off of. If they have to sacrifice one of their own, it's not going to be in vain. So they're going to make this death count. And this is where Magic comes up and she's ready for battle. And she says, "Pound the war drums," and takes her place on the casting circle. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think. We're finding out a great deal here. So we're definitely learning that resurrection is just getting taken off the table completely. It's not going to be a possibility for any of them when they're battling in this tournament. So when you die, you die. So it's going to be really interesting to see who, if anybody, if they're going to actually die. Because this is going to be a permanent death. And while they may be resurrected, they're not going to have the same personality or identity. You know, it's going to be a whole new character just in the same sleeve, which has really unique possibilities for the future and what's held in the future for X-Men. Now, so I'm really excited to see everybody else collect their swords. You know, I believe Wolverine is the next line, so we're going to see him getting the Muramasa sword. And so I'm really excited about that. That's going to be really interesting to get into. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, are you digging Ten of Swords? Are you really wanting to dive into this? Or are you not too much of a fan of it? Does the 22 issues really, you know, kind of put you off to it? You know, let me know. And if you guys haven't yet, be sure to like and subscribe to the page. And until the next video.